Welcome back to GCN Racing and highlights of the penultimate stage of La Vuelta a España. Yesterday there was some controversy with 60k's to go after this crash which involved the red jersey Primož Roglic. Movistar drilled it on the front immediately after that crash, putting over a minute into the race leader before they sat up, allowing everything to come back together. Except for the breakaway, that is. Remy Cavagna had been part of an 11-man group that went solo with 25k's to go and was never seen again. He'd take his first Grand Tour stage victory, whilst the Koenig Quick-Step placed 3 riders in the top 4. Roglic arrived safe and sound near the front. Initially he'd lost 3 seconds to Valverde, but later the jury corrected it and gave the GC riders all the same time. So his lead remains 2 minutes and 50 seconds on the Spaniard going into stage 20. Which was the final day in the mountains. A long and a tough 190 kilometres, which included 6 categorised climbs and a summit finish at the Plataforma de Gredos. This really was the last chance for any changes in the overall general classification, but it remained to be seen whether or not anybody was willing to go all in and risk it all to try and dethrone Roglic at the top of the table.
With so much at stake, it wasn't a surprise to see an active start, although perhaps not quite as active as we'd been expecting. In fact, by the time the serious climbing started, we had a group established up the road with an advantage of close to 3 minutes over the red jersey group behind. But then, just as it looked like things had settled down, Astana hit the front, attacking the group of GC favourites. First it was Sanchez, then Cataldo, then the Izagirre brothers also in on the action. They were determined to get some riders up the road ready for a Lopez attack later in the stage. Here's the front group who managed to cling on to a slim advantage at the top of the first climb of the day. On to the second one, and it was Lawson Craddock who was attempting to bridge up to them. He's come close on a couple of occasions to pulling off a big result at this Vuelta, but it's never quite gone his way. Eventually, with almost 60 kilometres raced, he'd managed to get himself to the front of the race. We have to give a tip of the hat though to Jumbo-Visma. They lost a key rider in the form of Steven Kruijswijk very early on in this race, and yesterday they lost Tony Martin. But despite that, the remaining riders were more than in control of the situation on what was a very tough day. Theo Gegenhardt, not a threat on the GC, was allowed up the road, and he closed the 1 minute 38 second gap in impressively short order. Could this finally be the day where he took his maiden Grand Tour stage win? Well, not if Astana had anything to do with it. They'd once again hit the front inside the last 70 kilometres, the gap at this point close to 4 minutes. Their acceleration did put a number of riders in trouble, including some of Roglic's lieutenants, and in the space of 14 kilometres, they'd wiped close to a minute off the lead of the breakaway. 10 kilometres later, and that gap had halved again. 1 minute and 36 seconds between Gegenhardt and Guerrero and the red jersey group. Well, this is my prediction for the stage, and with 43k's to go, Lopez was doing what he does best, attacking on the steeper gradients. But if he looked behind him, he'd realise all of his key rivals were glued to his wheel. Which wasn't the case when this man went. Tadej Pogačar, the revelation of this year's Vuelta, but clearly not content with the 2-stage wins and his 5th place on GC. He'd head up the road on the penultimate climb of the day, and nobody was able to go with him. He did have an off day 2 days ago in the mountains, but that was clearly a blip. Pogačar was on fire today and opened up a decent gap in a very short period of time, and in fact, with 3 kilometres to go to the top of this penultimate climb, his advantage was up to a minute. And he'd added more than 30 seconds to that as he hit the following descent. This was starting to look like a very dangerous move. And they were fully aware of that behind. Wasn't quite panic stations yet, but Lopez could see his white jersey disappearing, and there didn't appear to be a lot that he could do about it. Pogačar by this point had launched himself into it and also onto the provisional podium, but could he keep it going all the way to the finish? Well, despite Movistar's best efforts, the gap remained steady, and with 4k's to the finish line, it was still over a minute and a half. Hermann Pernsteiner was the next rider to make a move behind, but Valverde was on the back foot. Pogačar was closing in on him and in second place on GC, so a little over 2.5k's to go, he'd hit the front to ride as quick as he could to the line. It wasn't the day for my pick though, surprisingly. Lopez was looking very fatigued indeed. Valverde had caught Pernsteiner soon after, but he wasn't really making any inroads into the gap to Pogačar, which was still over a minute and a half as he came towards the Flamme Rouge. Absolutely no doubt then about the winner of today's stage. It's been a year for the youngsters and the Vuelta of the Slovenians. A more impressive ride we are rarely privileged to see, but you wouldn't be surprised to see this man pull it off again in his career. Remember, he's not even 21 years of age yet. A shake of the head as he realised that he'd just won his 3rd Grand Tour stage in his first Grand Tour. Incredible stuff. Where had he finished on GC though? Well, Valverde sprinted to the line and stopped the clock after 1 minute and 32 seconds, enough to conserve his runner-up spot on GC. And 10 seconds later, Roglic would roll across the line to secure his first Grand Tour and the first for Slovenia. That was very well deserved. It was another disappointing finish for Lopez though. He'd been on the podium at this race last year, but it wasn't to be this time around. He'd not only miss out on the top 3, but also lose his white jersey to this man, Pogačar. Well, UAE are going to be very excited about the prospects of this young man in the Grand Tours. Here's the top 10 from the stage. Valverde, Maika and Pernstein at 1:32. Roglic a further 9 seconds back. And another great ride from Higuita at 1 minute and 49 in 6th place. Well, he was close to winning the Giro at the start of the year. It didn't pan out for him then, but it has today. Primoz Roglic has pretty much won this year's Vuelta a España now, with just one stage left into Madrid tomorrow. Here's how it looks at the end of today. Valverde at 2 minutes and 33 now. Pogačar up to 3rd and into the white jersey. Quintana holds on to 4th ahead of compatriot Lopez. Great riding from Hagen to keep into the top 10 overall in 8th. Unluckily though for James Knox, his crash yesterday meant he slipped outside the top 10. Tomorrow, the riders will finally arrive in Madrid on what will be little more than a parade for the majority of the almost pan-flat 105.6 kilometres. They will be completing 10 laps of a city circuit, which is just under 6 k's in length, just like last year. We are almost guaranteed a sprint finish at the end of it all, and as such, I'm going to go for the very obvious pick of Sam Bennett, taking his 3rd stage win of the race. Bye for now, I will see you again tomorrow.